Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something that everybody's talking about these days.
Seems like it.
EQ, or emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And we really want to get into the nitty-gritty here of what it is and why it matters and how you can maybe improve your own EQ.
It's really interesting how EQ is getting so much attention lately, even from kind of surprising places.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I thought was so interesting about our source material today, which is an article written by Andrew Kagan,
Okay.
who is the CTO of Planet Technologies.
Wow.
So not necessarily someone you'd expect to be a champion for emotional intelligence.
Right.
But he lays out a really compelling argument for why this is something that you really got to have, not just some fluffy, nice to have skill.
It seems like something that's really important.
It is. And he even draws inspiration from Gary Vaynerchuk.
Interesting.
Who's Mr. High Energy Hustle.
And so different.
Totally different. So it's like, okay, this is not just for a certain type of person.
Right. It applies to everyone.
Exactly. And Kagan actually admits in his article,
Oh, really?
I'm no EQ guru.
What?
Which I thought was kind of endearing.
Yeah, that's very humble.
Yeah, there's some humility there, or willingness to grow.
Right.
So let's start with his definition, because he lays it out pretty clearly.
Okay.
He says, the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions and those of the people around you in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is.
What stands out to you in that definition?
It's a lot to unpack, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, the part about managing not only your own emotions, but the emotions of people around you.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's where the real power comes in. Being able to navigate social situations and lead with empathy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's really where you can see the impact in the real world.
Yeah, and he published this on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
Which we usually think of as like a career development networking site. So he's saying that this is not just good for your personal life, this is something you need to succeed professionally.
That's interesting.
So then he goes on to give us 12 qualities that demonstrate high EQ.
Okay.
Some are what you might expect: empathy, compassion, kindness.
Right.
But then he throws in some more maybe unexpected ones like diligence, integrity, generosity.
I see what you mean about it being unexpected.
Yeah, and I want to unpack some of those.
Okay.
Because I think this list is really the meat of his argument.
Makes sense.
Let's start with empathy and sympathy.
Okay.
Because a lot of people use those terms interchangeably.
I can see how they would get confused.
Yeah, so how would you distinguish between those two?
Okay. So imagine your friend is going through a breakup.
Okay.
Sympathy would be acknowledging their pain.
Right.
Maybe saying something like, I'm so sorry you're going through this.
Right.
Empathy, though, is like taking that a step further.
Okay.
It's like trying to actually feel what they're feeling,
Oh,
putting
fine.
yourself in their shoes and understanding their experience.
Oh.
So it's more than just offering comfort.
Yeah.
It's like actually feeling their heartbreak alongside them.
So it's like a deeper level of connection.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that really ties back to his point about managing other people's emotions.
Okay.
Because if you can empathize with someone, then you're more equipped to support them,
Yeah.
to communicate with them effectively,
Sure.
to navigate those tricky situations where emotions are running high.
Absolutely. And, going back to Kagan publishing this on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
it makes you think he really sees empathy as a skill needed to be successful professionally,
Right.
not just in your personal life.
It's like he's saying this is how you build strong teams.
Yeah.
How you get things done effectively by understanding and responding to the emotions of the people you're working with.
Right.
And speaking of connecting on a deeper level,
Yeah.
another one of his qualities that really stood out to me was humility.
Oh, interesting.
Because it allows us to acknowledge we don't have all the answers.
Right.
And to be open to learning and growing.
Yeah. Which is so essential for developing EQ.
Absolutely.
And remember, Kagan himself admits
He did.
he's no EQ expert.
Right.
So he's modeling that humility.
That's great.
Okay. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about a couple of qualities that might seem a little less emotional at first glance.
Okay.
Patience and diligence.
Hmm.
How do those fit into the EQ puzzle?
Well, I think they're both so crucial in today's world.
Right.
I mean, think about it. We're constantly bombarded with information.
It's overwhelming.
Right? Deadlines are tighter, and there's this pressure to always be on.
It's true.
It's like our brains are running a marathon every single day.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
And that's where I think patience comes in.
Okay.
It's about staying calm even when you're under pressure.
Right.
Recognizing that not everything is in your control.
Right.
And when things don't go your way, which they inevitably will,
They do?
it's about not letting frustration completely derail you.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it's like patience is that inner chill.
That helps you weather those inevitable storms.
Yeah, I like that.
And then, paired with patience, is diligence.
Oh, okay.
Diligence is all about consistently putting in the effort,
Right.
even when things are tough or boring.
Yeah.
Think about a long-term project at work.
Okay.
It's diligence that keeps you focused.
Yeah.
It keeps you moving forward, even when you feel like giving up.
Okay.
And ultimately, it's what leads you to achieve your goals.
So patience keeps us steady.
Yeah.
And diligence keeps us moving forward,
That's-
even in the face of obstacles.
That's it.
I like that it's like they're the unsung heroes of EQ.
Yeah.
These quiet forces that help us navigate the everyday challenges and achieve lasting success.
And it's so interesting that these qualities that we usually associate with, like, stoicism or discipline,
Right.
actually are important for emotional intelligence.
It's not just about being, touchy-feely.
Right.
It's about having that inner strength and resilience to handle whatever life throws your way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like
Like
it.
a balance.
Yeah.
This really reminds me of a quote by Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
He said, "Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but will have lived a noble life that will live on in the memories of your loved ones."
Wow.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty deep coming from a Roman emperor.
Right.
But it's like he's saying, live a life of virtue no matter what you believe.
Exactly. I mean, you look at Kagan's list,
Yeah.
a lot of those qualities align with that idea.
Yeah.
Compassion, kindness, integrity, respect.
So it's about choosing actions that reflect those virtues,
Yes.
regardless of the outcome.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this framework,
Right.
but how do we actually put it into practice?
That's the big question.
Yeah. Like, let's say I want to work on my empathy.
Okay.
Where do I even begin?
Well, remember, empathy is about truly feeling what someone else is feeling. Okay.
Not just understanding it intellectually.
So it's not just saying like, oh, I get it.
Right.
It's about actually connecting with their experience.
Exactly. And that requires active listening.
Okay.
So think about it. When someone is sharing something important with you,
Yeah.
are you really present? Are you putting down your phone,
I'm
making
not-
eye contact,
Yeah.
really absorbing what they're saying and how they're saying it?
So being present, both physically and mentally.
Exactly.
What else can we do?
Well, pay attention to nonverbal cues.
Okay.
Sometimes people have trouble putting their feelings into words,
Right.
but their body language,
Yeah.
their tone of voice,
Okay.
their facial expressions can tell you a lot.
It's like reading between the lines.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about when someone's emotions are really intense?
Okay.
Like if they're angry or upset,
Yeah.
how do you stay empathetic without getting overwhelmed by their feelings?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that's where boundaries are important.
Empathy requires a delicate balance.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to understand their perspective,
Right.
but you don't want to lose yourself in the process.
So you're not absorbing their emotions. You're
Ah.
creating space for them to feel heard.
Exactly. And sometimes the most empathetic response is just acknowledging their feelings.
Okay.
Saying something like, "It sounds like you're really frustrated."
Right.
That validation can be really powerful.
Okay, so it's about finding that sweet spot between connecting and maintaining your own boundaries.
Exactly.
Okay, what about something like integrity?
Integrity.
That feels huge, almost intimidating.
It is a big one.
Yeah.
But remember, it's not about being perfect.
Okay.
It's about aligning your actions with your values.
Okay, so first, I need to figure out what my values are.
Right. What principles are most important to you?
Honesty, fairness, kindness. Those are definitely high on my list.
Great. So as you go about your day,
Yeah.
as you make decisions big or small,
Okay.
ask yourself, does this choice reflect my values?
So even something like gossiping about a coworker,
Right.
if kindness is one of my values,
Exactly.
that's an integrity red flag.
It might seem small,
Yeah.
but it's eroding the foundation you want to build on.
Oh, okay.
Integrity is about consistency,
Okay.
showing up as your authentic self, even when no one's watching.
I see how these qualities all kind of weave together.
They do.
If I'm practicing empathy, I'm more likely to be kind,
Right.
which supports my integrity.
Exactly.
It's like a whole system.
They reinforce each other.
Yeah,
And the more you develop one, the easier it is to cultivate the others.
that makes sense. You mentioned earlier that EQ is becoming increasingly important in the workplace.
It really is.
Can you elaborate on that? How does it translate to professional success?
Well, think about a successful team project.
Okay.
It usually involves good communication, collaboration, a shared understanding of goals.
Right.
These are all things that thrive when team members have high EQ.
So less misunderstandings, less drama, more getting stuff done.
Definitely.
Exactly.
But it's more than just efficiency.
Okay.
Leaders with high EQ are usually better at inspiring and motivating their teams.
Right.
They create a positive work environment where everyone feels valued.
And that probably impacts things like creativity and problem solving too, right?
Actually.
People feel safe to share their ideas, to brainstorm
Yeah.
without fear of judgment.
EQ creates a culture of innovation.
Wow.
It's not just about getting along.
Yeah.
It's about using the collective intelligence of the group.
So we often think of success in terms of hard skills and technical knowledge.
Right.
But you're saying EQ is like the secret sauce
It is.
that makes all those other ingredients work better.
Exactly. It's the catalyst for turning individual talent into collective achievement.
That's huge.
It is. And in today's world, that's a big advantage.
Okay, you've convinced me EQ is career gold.
It is.
But what about on a personal level?
Okay.
How does this impact our relationships, our sense of self, our overall happiness?
Just imagine a world where people are more in tune with their emotions.
Okay.
Less conflict, more understanding.
Deeper connections.
Yeah.
EQ helps us navigate the ups and downs of life with more resilience.
Okay.
We're less reactive,
Right.
more adaptable, and better at supporting the people we care about.
It's like having a toolkit for handling the challenges of relationships.
Exactly. It's about responding thoughtfully
Yeah.
rather than just reacting emotionally.
So more peace, less drama, more meaningful connections.
That's the goal.
Sign me up.
Right. Who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. And you're saying this is something that anyone can develop.
Absolutely.
Okay, but let's be real.
Okay.
Life is messy.
It is.
There are going to be days when even the most emotionally intelligent person
Right.
feels overwhelmed, stressed, or just cranky.
Of course.
So what happens then?
Yeah.
Does EQ just disappear?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We're all human.
Right.
We experience a full range of emotions.
Yeah.
EQ isn't about suppressing those feelings. It's
Yeah.
about acknowledging them,
Yeah.
understanding where they're coming from.
And choosing how to respond.
So having a pause button
Yeah.
between feeling and reacting.
That pause allows us to assess the situation,
Okay.
consider different perspectives,
Right.
and choose a course of action that aligns with our values.
That's empowering.
It is.
It's like we're not at the mercy of our emotions.
Right.
We have the power to choose how we respond to them.
And the more we practice that pause,
Yeah.
the better we become at navigating those tough situations.
So it's a skill we can develop.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm really seeing how this can transform our lives.
I think so too.
But I have to ask,
Okay.
is there ever a downside to being too emotionally intelligent? Can you be too empathetic,
That's a good question.
too compassionate,
Yeah.
too forgiving?
I think balance is key.
Okay.
While emotional intelligence is generally a good thing,
Yeah.
there are times when certain aspects of EQ can be overextended.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, like too much empathy can sometimes lead to emotional exhaustion, especially for people in caregiving professions
Right.
or people who are very sensitive to other people's emotions.
So it's like taking on too much emotional baggage.
Exactly. And that can be really draining.
Yeah.
It's important to have healthy boundaries.
So it's not about shutting down empathy. It's
Yeah.
about finding a sustainable level
Yeah,
where you can connect with others without sacrificing your own well-being.
exactly. Finding that sweet spot where empathy enriches your life
Okay.
instead of depleting it.
What about something like forgiveness? Can you be too forgiving?
Yes, definitely. While forgiveness is important,
Yeah.
it's not the same as condoning bad behavior.
So forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting
Right.
or letting people off the hook for their actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is about releasing the anger and resentment you hold towards someone.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation
Right.
or continuing the relationship.
So it's about finding peace for yourself,
Exactly.
not necessarily absolving the other person.
And sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself
Yeah.
is to distance yourself from someone who continues to hurt you,
Okay.
even if you've forgiven them for past things.
So even with positive qualities like empathy and forgiveness,
Right.
balance is still important.
Absolutely.
EQ is not about blindly following a set of rules. It's about using these qualities wisely and compassionately,
Yes.
both toward yourself and others.
I like that.
This is such a rich topic.
It really is.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface. We could talk about this forever.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack.
But we do have to wrap up this deep dive.
Right.
So what's the one thing you really want our listeners to walk away with?
Well, I think it's that emotional intelligence isn't just something you're born with or you're not.
Okay.
It's something you can develop and improve throughout your life.
So it's not like some fixed trait.
No. And the benefits are huge, both personally and professionally.
So it's never too late to start working on your EQ.
Absolutely. And even small changes can make a big difference.
Okay, so it's not about becoming some perfectly Zen master overnight.
Right. Just take small steps day by day.
Okay, but how do we put all of this into practice?
Well, here's a little challenge for you.
Okay.
Think back to Kagan's 12 qualities.
Okay.
Which one really resonated with you?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe patience, maybe generosity, something else entirely.
Okay.
Choose one, and for the next 24 hours,
Yeah.
make that your focus.
Like a little EQ experiment?
Exactly.
So if I choose patience,
Okay.
I'm going to be super aware of how I react in those situations that normally push my buttons.
Right, like rush hour traffic or a difficult coworker.
Exactly.
You're not aiming for perfection.
Right.
Just practice awareness.
Okay.
Notice those moments when you'd normally react without thinking.
Yeah.
And see if you can choose a different response.
Okay.
Take a breath, pause, and respond in a way that aligns with that quality you're working on.
So even just paying attention to those moments,
Yeah.
you can start to shift those patterns over time.
It's like building a muscle.
Okay.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And this ties back to that ripple effect we were talking about.
It does.
If you're working on your patience,
Yeah.
the people around you benefit too.
Exactly. Your calm energy can influence others.
It's like a chain reaction of good vibes.
That's the idea.
Well, this has been such a fascinating conversation.
I agree.
Thank you so much for breaking down this topic for us.
My pleasure.
And remember, everyone, the journey of emotional intelligence is ongoing.
It is.
Be kind to yourself, keep learning, and watch how your life transforms. That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into emotional intelligence.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep leveling up your EQ game.